Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. This is Ghost Talk with 187 PI. Sit back and prepare yourselves for an adventure into the paranormal world with host Shelly Robertson and 187 PI research team. Ghost Talk is broadcasting live from Ohio's most haunted jail. Learn about their ongoing research at the jail and abroad, investigation techniques, and their personal encounters. Here is your host of Ghost Talk and 187 PI founder, Shelly Robertson.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Ghost Talk Radio with me as your host, Shelly Robertson. Ghost Talk Radio normally broadcasts out of Ohio's most haunted jail, the old Paulding Jail located in Paulding, Ohio. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the travel restrictions in the states of Indiana and Ohio, because I live in Indiana, jail is in Ohio, I'm bringing you tonight's show from Indianapolis, from my home. So I'm staying in, folks. Tonight I have a very, very interesting show planned for you. I will be talking about Alaska hauntings. There's a lot of places in Alaska that are haunted. There's actually more than what you would imagine. And tonight I'm only going to be able to go over a handful of those. I would like to invite all of my listening friends out there tonight to join me in chat at WBHM-DB.com, where you can join in on the conversation, ask me any questions, or if you happen to be from Alaska or have been to Alaska and have a fantastic haunted tale, do tell and share. I first want to make a disclaimer prior to going over some of these fantastic haunted locations. Some of the places featured in tonight's show, they may be working locations, and some may be empty or non-working locations. In either event, it's your responsibility to acquire appropriate permissions before investigating any location featured in tonight's show. Private property should be respected at all times, as should all posted signs concerning trespassing, hours of operation, and other local regulations. Over the years, there's been many ghost hunters who've been arrested because they have failed to contact property owners and or local authorities ahead of time. So please, everyone, make sure you get some permission before lurking about any haunted properties, okay? This first place on my Alaska journey is the Augustus Seaberg House, and it's located in Anchorage. There's this fella by the name of Augustus Seaberg, and he immigrated to the United States from Sweden in 1909, so a long, long time ago. And he was the age of 28, and he found some work in Anchorage on the Alaska Railroad. Well, he married this gal named Christina, and the couple had 4 daughters, Helen, Hazel, Eleanor, and Beryl. Now, this historic house, it was built in the early 1920s, right? And it is believed to be haunted by at least 2 spirits. The first being the former owner, of course, Augustus Seaberg, and it's been reported that you can hear him pacing the upper floors of the house. He's also been seen standing on the landing of the stairs. And the second ghost is reported to be, you guessed it, folks. Do you know what I'm about to say? Do you know what it is? A woman in white. She always makes an appearance. And I'm just wondering, I'm getting off track here just for just a brief second. I'm wondering if we have a choice of attire when we pass and hang around. Because do all these ladies just like the white gowns? I'm just wondering. I mean, I'll pick something vibrant like neon pink or something. Y'all are going to know it's me. Okay, so anyways, this woman in white, she is believed to be Augustus's daughter, Eleanor, and she's been seen several times in the parlor as well as the main bedroom of the house. Other occurrences include, of course, hot spots, cold spots, disembodied voices, and people being pushed by unseen forces, okay? I have somebody in chat, Brenda, she said she's going to wear red. And someone else in chat says they're wearing black with garters. That is awfully nice. If y'all want to chip in on what you're going to wear in the passing, come to the chat room, WBHM-DB.com. So let's travel on to this place called Chena Hot Springs Road, and that's in Fairbanks, Alaska. Now, if it weren't for the hot springs at the end of this road, the road probably would have never existed, actually. The springs, they were discovered in 1905 by two gold mining brothers, Robert and Thomas Swan. In 1911, 12 small cabins were built to accommodate visitors, because back in those times, hot springs were said to be very beneficial for your health, to soak in them, right? So all of these little cabins were built to accommodate visitors. And these became one of the most famous resorts in the interior of Alaska. Everybody wanted to come to them and take part in the springs there. Well, it didn't take long for the people of Fairbanks to want permanent access from town. So, at the people's request, the U.S. War Department built the first trail to the hot springs in 1913. Now, today, Chena Hot Springs Road, it's fully paved and well-maintained. And the journey from Fairbanks to the trail's end at the Chena Hot Springs Resort, which there's a resort there at the end, it's about 56.5 miles, so you can drive to it in about an hour from Fairbanks. Now, where things get a little crazy is, it's said that in the wintertime, around 7 p.m. or later, between miles 8 and 12, one might see blue, white, and orange orbs of light. Many people report them being similar to headlights of a car. So they appear in the sky, and the locals say that sometimes it seems as though they even follow your car. So that's what's happening down the road. But at the resort, the kitchen staff have often heard unexplained noises in the back room and in the pantry, described as whistling. In other areas, footsteps can be heard and objects have been flown off the walls. The chandelier in the lobby has been seen moving on calm days when there's no upstairs humans, like, no one in the building. And there's one incident has been reported that this teacher from California visited the resort, and this fella had a video camera, and he made his way upstairs through the main building, and he was saying that he wanted a confrontation with the ghost of Emma Leach. Now, Emma Leach is said to haunt the building's 3rd floor. Now, when he got to the 4th floor, all the windows were closed, but he filmed the doors opening by themselves. So that's pretty interesting. He didn't actually get to see Emma herself. Let's move on and let's go to this school. There's lots of haunted schools everywhere, and Alaska is no different from many other locations. This school is called West High School, and it's in Anchorage. And this high school opened in 1953. It's the oldest of Alaska's school districts, 8 major high schools, okay? And it serves the western parts of the downtown and midtown in Anchorage. It had, the last time they posted the numbers, they had a enrollment of 1,842 kids, which made it the 2nd largest school in Alaska after the East Anchorage High School, which is the largest one. Well, it said a lady in white, this lady in white is here too. She haunts the old auditorium. It's been reported that she's been seen on occasion, and she's been seen for decades too, just for a very long time. Sometimes standing silently among the seats. She's been seen running through corridors, appearing backstage, or in the basement halls. However, her description remains consistent no matter who reports seeing her, as many people, including school administrators, teachers, students, visitors, have all reported seeing her. There was 2 assistant principals and a security guard. They were startled when a figure in white dashed by them in a narrow corridor behind the balcony. Now, in the theater prop room, there was a gal. She was assisting with a show, and she opened a door leading into this tiny side room, and she was startled and shocked to see a strange man glaring at her, and obviously it was a man of a ghost. And on another occasion, someone asked a friend that they were standing with who the girl was staring down at them from a balcony. So they both turned and looked up at the balcony, and the girl vanished from sight straight in front of them. There's another spirit that haunts the school and is said to be a former custodian, and it's reported that people see him sweeping up the lobby. There's also claims of footsteps, walking through empty halls, slamming doors, lights turning on and off, you name it. It's been reported here at the West High School. Now we may as well travel to a saloon, folks. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we should all just have a drink here at the Red Onion Saloon. It's in Skagway, Alaska. And the Red Onion, it was built in 1897, and it opened for business just about a year later, right? It was widely known as the finest bordello in Skagway during the Klondike Gold Rush. Is that interesting? Of course, they had bordellos back then. The original structure of the old cat house, it still remains today. And back then, it was common not only at this particular saloon, but at many that also had the bordello in them. At the bar area, on a shelf at the bar area, they would place dolls. And at this particular Red Onion Saloon, they had 10 gals that worked, so they'd have 10 dolls on the bar. And if the doll was laying down, that meant the gal was, taking care of other customer. And if the doll was sitting or standing up, it meant that the lady is available. So that's how fellas would know if their favorite gal was, busy, if you know what I mean. Now, there's a museum inside this place, too. It's filled with antiques and relics from back in the gold rush days. One of the most recognizable spirits in the Red Onion Saloon is that of a lady named Lydia. Lydia was one of the prostitutes of the former brothel, of course. And, even after all of these years, she's still being spotted. She's still there at the Red Onion trying to, do her job. People report hearing footsteps on the second floor where the brothel used to be. Strong smell of perfume lingers in the air. And there would also be extreme cold spots where the smell of perfume had originated. There was once a huge disturbance in the upper floors, so the police were called in to check it out, right? And as they approached the stairs, they saw a figure, which is believed to be the ghost of Lydia, running down the hall and into a room. Well, the room was once the former madam's room, right? Upon inspection, the room was empty and there was nowhere for any intruder to go. So that's why they assume they had saw Lydia. This gal has quite a green thumb, even in the afterlife as well. She reports that she also waters the house plants. There's been many occasions where the hostess or the front of the house workers would find the soil already damp and wet, as if somebody just watered the plants. She's been seen many times in full apparition. She's also been observed walking around the madam's room, and it is said that sometimes she can be hostile towards men. What do you think of that, fellas? You want to get roughed up a little? Go to the Red Onion and go meet Lydia. There are also some old gowns on display there, and some people have claimed that mysterious lights will appear behind them from time to time. The lights will start flickering off and on, they'll sway back and forth, and then the lights will disappear. Very interesting, right? And when we come back after this short break, we're going to go back to school in Alaska. So with that, folks, we'll be back with more Ghost Talk after this short break. You're listening to Ghost Talk Radio on WBHM-DB, Birmingham, Alabama.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
To the believer, the evidence is overwhelming. To the skeptic, there will never be enough. Hello everyone. Join Kevin and Jennifer Malik, the host of Paraversal Universe, every Friday here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Also heard on WCET-FM and The Rift. Log on or tune in as they check out the mysteries found within the 8 categories of the unknown and unexplained, including ghosts and haunted places, aliens and UFOs, theology and mythology, cryptids and monsters, urban legends and folklore, conspiracies, metaphysics, and forbidden archaeology. Listen as Kevin and Jennifer interview the top minds in their respective fields as they share theories and information regarding these unsolved mysteries. For future show and archive information, one can find Paraversal Universe on Facebook, Twitter, and MeWe under various Paraversal Universe headings. So, for excellent talk radio about the unknown and unexplained, check out Paraversal Universe, where all paranormal perspectives apply. Brought to you by the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society, Ltd., and produced by WBHM-DB.com.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to Ghost Talk Radio. With me is your host, Shelly Robertson. Tonight I am talking about hauntings in Alaska. And if you missed the first part of the show, no worries. You can catch the full show archive on Spreaker, Google Play, iTunes, and iHeartRadio at your leisure. We're also on several other platforms, so we're probably wherever you are. So just take and look us up. I'd like to invite you all to join me in our interactive chat room at WBHM-DB.com, where you can join in on the conversation, or if you have any stories or questions, we welcome those. Now, before break, I said we were going back to school, right? And we just left the brothel, so now we probably should go back to school. And this school is called the Night Mute High School, and it's in Night Mute, Alaska, of course. Alaska tonight's Alaska. Now, this is a very interesting high school. You know, a lot of times people have some of their best, experiences, and some of their best memories are when they've been in high school, right? Well, at the Night Mute High School, there's this one girl, a little ghost girl, and she often appears lonely and sad. She keeps to herself mostly, but people say that sometimes she comes out to play. This little girl spends much of her time in and around the school's restroom. She flushes the toilets and flicks the lights on and off, scaring and startling students. She also is said to wander the hallways, and she's often humming to herself, right? Humming little tunes. And it's reported that they say if you leave some basketballs out in the gym, there's occasions that you can see her shoot some hoops. Now, I would like to see this. Unfortunately, no one really knows who the girl is. Although, get this, they did find her final resting place. There was a grave under room 106, and they uncovered this grave, and they think it is the grave of this little girl. Many think that's why she still roams the halls. Of course, they have not been able to identify the grave, precisely who she is, but, there's been other, not getting off subject just for a second here a little bit, but there's been other schools that I have found in other areas that have also had classrooms sitting on top of old graves. So are the schools built on top of them, or are people hid under the school? You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, there's no telling, right? Because especially in some small places, people just took justice into their own hands. You know what I'm saying? There's this next place, and these places are known to be haunted and kind of spooky. And this next place is the Kennecott Mines, of course, located in Kennecott. And it was in the summer of 1900. These two prospectors, a fella named Jack Smith and a fella named Clarence Warner, they were also with a group of prospectors associated with the McClellan Party, okay? Well, these guys, they spotted this green patch. It was a really bright green colored patch above them in a improbable location, okay, just to say the least. Improbable location for a green meadow. So they get to it, and the green turned out to be malachite, which is a semi-precious gemstone, right? So with this malachite, they also find this copper glance, all right? And of course, what came next was a bonanza of a huge claim, right? So a few days later, after these guys found this other fella, his name was Arthur Spencer, and he was with the U.S. Geological Survey geologist, okay? And he also found the same things that these fellas found in the same place. So as you can imagine, political battles over the mining and the subsequent railroad were fought over in the office of U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt, who was the president at the time. And these fights were between conservationists and those having a financial interest in the copper, okay? So this turns out to be a huge copper mine. And to make a long story short, it ended up being, and there's a lot of back and forth and a lot of history and finagling, and a railroad was built, and steamboats come by, and it's just a huge operation, as you can imagine. What happened was, the Kennecott Mines, they were named after this glacier, okay? And funny that the glacier was also named for a fella named Robert Kennicott during the 1899 U.S. Army Abercrombie survey. Okay, so this Kennicott mine, it had 5 mines altogether, this location. It had, now listen to the names of these individual mines to this big conglomeration of mines, right? Bonanza, Jumbo, Motherlode. That must have been just chocked full of copper. Erie and Glacier, all right? The Bonanza, Jumbo, and Motherlode, and the Erie, those mines were all connected by tunnels, all right? In 1916, it was the peak year for productions, okay? The mines produced copper ore valued at $32.4 million. This was back in 1916. That is a ton of money. The Kennicott Hospital, it stood left of the mine, and as it was the town's only whitewashed building, right? The vast majority of all the other town structures, including the workers' bunkhouses, they were painted red. And back in that time, red was the least expensive color, right? And getting away from the mine for just one brief second, the Kennicott Hospital, it was also the site of the very first X-ray machine in Alaska. Isn't that just interesting? Now, in 1925, a Kennicott geologist predicted that the end of the high-grade ore bodies was soon coming, right? They just about mined all of the high-grade stuff out. And the ore was largely depleted by the early 1930s. The Glacier mine closed in 29. The Motherlode was next, closing in July of 38. And the rest of the mines, they closed in September. And the last train left Kennicott on November 10th, 1938, leaving this place a ghost town, right? So, here's an interesting fact about this mine. From 1909 until 1938, except for when it was temporarily closed in 1932, okay? For the most part, 1909, 1938, the Kennicott mines, they produced over 4.6 million tons of ore that contained 1.1 billion pounds of copper, mainly from the Bonanza, Jumbo, and Motherlode tunnels, right? Now, the Kennicott operations, they reported a gross revenue of above $200 million with a net profit greater than $100 million. So, as you can imagine, back in 1938, a profit of $100 million, that was so much money. Now, in 1938, this fella named Ernest Gruning, he proposed that the Kennicott be preserved as a national park, and a recommendation was sent to President Franklin Roosevelt in 1940, all right? So that went nowhere, absolutely nowhere. And it wasn't until November 2nd in 1980 that it was made a national park and preserve called St. Ellis National Park and Preserve. So it took 40 years to get that area as a national park and preserve. Now, from 1939 until the mid-1950s, Kennicott was deserted for the most part, except for a family of 3, and they served as the watchmen until about 1952. In the late 60s, an attempt was made to reprocess the trailings and transport them by aircraft. Now, the cost of doing this, it made the idea unprofitable. So, about the same time, the company with land rights they ordered the destruction of the town, okay, because they wanted to rid themselves of liability in case there were potential accidents. And a few of the structures were destroyed, but the job was never finished, and most of the town was left standing, okay? Visitors, nearby residents, people from all over in that area, many of them stripped the little ghost town of all the small items and artifacts. Some have since been returned, and they're held in various archives. Now, surprisingly enough, the mines are said to be extremely haunted, with one of the hot spots being the railroad, where the railroad ran beside the mines, right? People have reported seeing apparitions of old miners following the line as if they were heading to their former place of work, only to vanish when approached. In the mining area, visitors have reported everything from orbs of lights to ghostly mists and the voices of miners shouting for assistance from each other. The spirits of the miners' families are also said to inhabit the town, and they're mostly seen on Main Street, which makes kind of a little bit of sense to me if they're going to hang around because, in an old mining town, Main Street was all of the hustle and bustle and where everybody would meet and shop and hang out and all that good stuff. So that ghost town is pretty haunted with lots of ghosts. Next, we shall travel to the Jesse Lee home in Seward. The Jesse Lee Home for Children is a former home for displaced children on the Sweatman Avenue in Seward, Alaska, of course. The Jesse Lee Home was operated by the United Methodist Church from its opening in 1926 until the building suffered damage from a 1964 earthquake and operations relocated to a new building in Anchorage, all right? Now, of course, the property suffered a massive amount of damage during that Great Alaskan earthquake, and it's been said several of the resident children were killed. And people believe it is possibly these poor souls who are now said to haunt the deteriorating property. Those who visit the old home, they reported feelings of dread and despair upon entering the building, and it's common for visitors to hear giggling children even when none is present. The sounds of jump ropes and bouncing balls have been reported. Small shadowy figures are seen going past windows, and people said that they've even just stood outside the buildings and seen what looked to be children walking past those windows. So, very, very interesting. Now, let's go have a stay at the Hotel Captain Cook in Anchorage. Captain James Cook, he helped define Alaska in the 18th century by mapping its jagged coastline for the first time, right? This fella named Walter Hickel, he was a Kansas native who arrived in Alaska in 1940. He was about 20 years old, and he only had 37 cents to his name. He was a longtime Alaskan entrepreneur, an author. He served twice as Alaska's governor. This fella Hickel was also a real estate developer. And he built and operated hotels, businesses, and shopping centers for decades in Alaska. In 1964, earthquake Alaska had, it leveled much of the downtown Anchorage area. And many people, of course, were to rebuild. And this fellow was said to never think small, and he reacted to the earthquake by pledging to build Alaska's biggest and best hotel in the devastated downtown area, right? Since 1965, the Hotel Captain Cook has defined luxury in Alaska by offering an unparalleled level of elegance and comfort. So he kept good on his word about building a fabulous hotel, right? Well, this fabulous hotel is reportedly haunted. Guests and staff have reported that they witnessed the apparition of a woman, here we go, in this white dress, who lingers in the area of the hotel's restroom. She is said to be responsible for opening and closing doors, turning lights on and off, and hearing footsteps. And according to local legends, in the early 1970s, she committed suicide in one of the hotel restrooms. And since then, some guests have reported sightings of her spirit dressed in white lurking about that restroom. The operations manager has said that at times he's had to calm the troubled spirit down. And not only this lady in white, but this particular hotel is said to be the home of like 32 different ghosts. Very, very haunted. And when we come back from this short break, folks, we are going to go to a very fun but haunted place. So, we'll go to this short break. You're listening to Ghost Talk Radio.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to Ghost Talk Radio with me as your host, Shelly Robertson. And if you just tuned in and missed the first part of the show, have no fear or no worries. You can listen to the full show archive at your leisure on Google, Spreaker, iTunes, and iHeartRadio. I invite you all to join me in our interactive chat at WBHM-DB.com, where you can join in on the conversation. So before break, I said we were going to go to a fun but haunted place, and a place that cold spots are known for, and that is a ski resort. Yes, it's called the Alaskan Ski Resort, and it was founded in 1954, okay? And the first chairlift and day lodge were opened in 1955. Now, the Roundhouse Ski Lodge and Ski Patrol Station at the top of the mountain, it began construction in 1960. And of course, it's an octagonal building. And the Alaska Resort is the largest ski area in the state. Now, because of accidents on the slopes and mysterious happenings inside, the hotel sees more than its share of paranormal activity, right? In 2001, there was this stockbroker who was visiting the hotel. Well, he committed suicide in room 721, right? Now, since then, the room is plagued by flickering lights, the television goes on and off, doors that open and close on their own, and get this, would this not truly freak you out? Blankets being ripped off the guests. Oh, that would be so freaky, right? Of course, the water faucets turn on and off. You name it, it happens in this room. Now, the furniture from that room, it was moved to room 723, from 721 to 723. And after the suicide happened, but the activity moved to room 723 with furniture. 2 floors down in this hotel, the door to room 515, it opens and closes on its own. And throughout the resort, reports of other unusual occurrences are quite common. It's further said that this fella by the name of Dr. William Mills, he was a victim of a skiing accident, and there was another unnamed man, he lost his life in a third-story jump from a balcony. And those may be two of the most prominent spirits there at the ski lodge resort. So, want to experience chaos in the room during the night and have your blankets ripped off? Go to the ski lodge and have a good time. Now let's travel on to the Alaskan Hotel and Bar, and that's located in Juneau. In 1880, just 13 years after the U.S. purchased Alaska from the USSR, 2 men, Joe Juneau and Richard Harris, they discovered gold in the Silver Creek Basin, and in short order, the Alaskan Gold Rush began, right? This small tent city, it was named after one of these men, and it was located along the Inner Passage, and eventually it became the capital of the territory, Juneau, right? The brothers who struck it rich during the gold rush brought in an investor named Jules Caro, and they built this 3-story Alaskan hotel near the steamship docks there in 1913, right? So, years have gone by, and after renovations in 1978, paranormal activity was said to really increase there. One of the spirits, they say, is named Alice. And here's a local legend that comes into play here. She went there during the gold rush with her husband. Okay. And her husband promised he would return in 3 weeks. Well, he never returned. And it led Alice to believe he was dead, of course. So she was desperate for money and was forced into prostitution. But within a few weeks, her husband did return, and he was so mad at what she had become, he killed her in one of the back rooms. Now, present-day staff and guests, they report encountering Alice's ghost on many occasions. And her presence is most common in rooms 218 and room 219, where staff members claim they were always uncomfortable. Housekeepers report that they often discover towels or other items moved or misplaced in these two rooms, and several had witnessed Alice's ghost sitting on one of the beds or walking up and down the hotel staircase or seeing her in the hotel bar. One patron reported, now this is really interesting, and I have never experienced this, but it would be really cool to experience this. This one patron experienced a time slip when she used a restroom that appeared old and outdated, but hours later she returned to find it in its current modern state. That would be so crazy, right? This hotel, coincidentally, was also featured on the paranormal TV show Portals to Hell, as was my jail, which is also going to air on the 30th of this month again. So, you guys will have to tune in if you haven't watched it. Portals to Hell, Travel Channel, May 30th. Now, next, let's go spend the night at the Courtyard in Anchorage, and that's the airport location, that particular hotel. This hotel is home to get ready for it, folks, a ghost cat, and two men who had reportedly died on the property. One man haunts room 201, where his body lay undiscovered for several days, and the other ghost, his name is Ken. He hangs around the parking lot, startling guests as they walk to and from their cars. Now, what's really interesting is management there at that hotel is allegedly aware of the problem, and it makes a sincere effort to keep the spirits from disturbing their guests. Two other rooms, 103 and 107, are also reported to be haunted by a single or possibly multiple spirits. Okay? There was a person who reviewed the hotel. You know how you fill out reviews and stuff, and this person said that they saw people on the walls, and there were sounds from the room next to him, but no one was checked into the rooms. And this person also said in their review that they changed rooms because one night they woke up and something was staring at them. So this was in room 106. And it said that you can walk past those particular rooms, 106, 103, 107, and you can hear doors click as if somebody's going to open them. And management did state that there are issues that they have tried to resolve with those rooms. Now, let's go to 4th Avenue Theater. And this place is in Anchorage. And it was built beginning in 1941. and completed in 1947 after a halt during World War II. Somewhat, after the heyday of these particular styles, okay? It was a large 960-seat first-run theater until the 1980s. Now, as the Lathrop Building, it became, the complex included facilities for Lathrop's radio, television stations, a restaurant, and a penthouse apartment was added between 1959 and 1960. Now, locals there tell of strange sounds, objects moving on their own, and the old smell of perfume from the ghost of unknown woman who presents herself mainly during full moons as a green mist or shadowy silhouette. All who have encountered this woman, they said that she appears quite friendly, right? Now, a highly respected local businessman, he described in great detail looking up from the street one night at his locked office on the second floor of the theater and seeing a man staring back down at him. And as he got closer, he recognized the man as Cap Lathrop, who had originally built the theater and had been dead for 35 years. It's also said that the spirits of the deceased former actors will also appear when the building is empty, seemingly to reenact scenes from some of their favorite plays. Very interesting, right? Now, let's travel to this place called Bailey's Furniture, and that's in Soldotna, Alaska. Now, the former owner of a grocery store used to occupy the building, and he was said to have been murdered, all right? His ghost lingers here, perhaps because his killer was never found. What's odd about this place is furniture is said to break all by itself, and unexpected noises come from the back office there. So, crashing, breaking furniture, very interesting. That sounds like poltergeist activity, right? Now, I know we went over several haunted locations in Alaska tonight, and I want to remind everybody that some of the places in tonight's show may be working locations, some may be empty or non-working locations, and it's your responsibility to acquire appropriate permissions before investigating any locations featured in tonight's show. Private property should be respected at all times, as should all posted signs concerning trespassing, hours of operation, and other local regulations. Many ghost hunters have been arrested in the past because they failed to contact property owners and or local authorities ahead of time. So please, everyone, make sure you get permission before lurking about at any property. Next, I want to talk about what's going on at the jail. Well, with this pandemic going on, nothing much is going on, right? I've got over the intercom and said hi to the spirits a few times. They know there is a pandemic going on, but we are planning for the reopening as soon as all of these stay-in-place orders are lifted and travel restrictions are lifted. So, coming soon. I'd like to let you all know what's going on here at our fabulous network, WBHM-DB. We have some fantastic shows by some amazing hosts, and they all have interesting guests. All shows are at 8 p.m. Eastern. That is the magic time here at WBHM. Sunday nights, we have Fate Mag Radio with host Kat Hobson. Monday nights, we have Paranormal Pride Show with host Denise Pridemore. Wednesday nights, we have Paranormal Experience Show with host Cap Hobson. You will want to be sure to tune in to those shows as well as mine on Fridays if you're already here. I want to take a brief moment here to thank everyone for listening to tonight's live broadcast. I also want to thank all the first responders and all the folks out there working every essential job to keep America in supplies and things cleaned up. I also want to thank those who are staying home for helping and curb the spread of the COVID-19. Thank you, everyone, for doing your important part during this trying time. I want to wish everybody a happy evening and a fabulous weekend. Keep safe. Good night, friends.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.